Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Jermaine Beckford is in the house, and Mina Razuki for the first time on Team Talks, making your debut tonight. So let's start with you. The match we just saw, it literally gave us everything. It lived up to the hype. Manchester City, Arsenal, 4 goals, a red card, so much drama after. It's been dominating the headlines all week.
Yes, all these conversations on the dark arts. I mean, coming from someone who covers the Italian league, you don't know what dark arts are unless you come to Italy. I mean, there's everything from eating garlic to put off your opponent to bringing on a player just so that you can get 6 fouls in 2 minutes. These are the kind of things that we're used to in Italy. And over here, we're talking about really quite simple stuff, to be honest with you.
I'm loving that, eating garlic to put off opponents.
That's a
incredible.
famous thing with Leonardo Bonucci.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you remember what Giorgio Chiellini did to Saka? I mean, if, you know, we're talking about Arsenal, like, how did they like it when that happened to them at the time in the England final against Italy? And that was horrendous. Yep. Now, that's dark arts.
What did you think about it, especially after? Because we saw that clip of Haaland famously telling Arteta to be humble.
I loved it. Genuinely, I loved it. So football at the moment has become really nice and a bit too friendly. And, oh, I don't want to upset them.
Vanilla.
Vanilla. Listen, it's a competition. That's what it's about. It's about my team beating your team. It's about us finding a way to get one over on the opposition. And if it has to be a little bit of the dark arts, a little bit of, I'm going to have to trip this guy up, or I'm going to have to pull on his shirt a little bit when the referee's not looking, that's what you want to do. You know, that moment there, Haaland, when he picks the ball up, throws the ball in Gabriel's head, again, Thomas Partey blocks Haaland off. Haaland gets in his face. Come on, this is competition. This is the Premier League. This is 2 teams that are going for the Premier League title. They're challenging each other. They know they are the biggest opposition to each other.
Yeah.
And Arsenal were down to 10 men. Unbelievable game. They played really, really well. Every single one of those players should be immensely proud of themselves, especially Mikel Arteta should be immensely proud of his team because of what they were able to do against, in my opinion, the best footballing team in the world. They managed to keep them at bay for 47, 48 minutes, give or take, maybe a little bit longer, incidentally. I love it. I buzz off that.
But why has it become so polite? Why aren't we allowed to have this kind of level of, you know, intensity and anger? And isn't this what makes it a show? Which is why we love watching the Premier League. And also to do that, you know, in 10 men without, you know, and they didn't have Rodri though, to be honest with you. So that maybe simplified things.
Arsenal were down to 10 men.
So dark arts kind of just, it gets me. I think it was Kyle Walker who said it. And I'm like, so what? Now Arteta's office is going to be called the Chamber of Secrets? What's going on?
Exactly.
And this is the counter-argument to that is Manchester City have been doing that since Pep Guardiola stepped in.
Yeah.
No, prior to that, actually. So it's not like it's new to Manchester City. They're just frustrated that they're on the opposite end of it. That's all.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that encounter. But we are going to move on to Arsenal, who host winless Leicester at the Emirates Stadium. Mikel Arteta has reacted to criticism about his side playing ultra defensively against Man City last weekend.
Us on our toes today, Mikel.
Sorry?
Forward, keeping us on our toes today.
Okay, go on.
We'll be ready, don't you worry. Shall we start with good old injury news? Where are you at, first of all, with David Raya? What are his chances of making the game?
We have to wait another 24 hours.
Is it not looking good?
We have to wait 24 hours to see if he's looking good or not that good.
Okay. I guess with PSG, not worth taking the risk.
It's not risk, it's about a player being fit and available or not. And when we have that clarity for Leicester, which is the main thing that we are thinking at the moment, is we'll make the decision tomorrow.
White and Timber, where are they?
Yeah, Julian was able to take part in training today, so that's good news. So he will be available in the squad.
And Ben?
And Ben hopefully as well.
And can you just let us know a little bit on the progress of Mikel Merino as well? I mean, I'm guessing this week is too soon for him, but how is he progressing? Tomorrow is too soon. The next week we will see. He had partial training today. He's been working so hard, and it's looking good. It's just about the healing of that bone and how mature that is to expose him to contact, basically. I know you spoke about this on Tuesday, and I know it's 5 days, but a lot of people are still talking about Sunday's game. After the game on Wednesday, Pep came out and said that you two texted and that there was no damage to your relationship after what happened on Sunday. I wondered how you are still able to remain such good friends with somebody that ultimately you want them to fail. Can you explain to us?
First of all, because I love him, I respect him, and I admire him, and I admire his team and everything that he does. And this is a sport. You know, one thing is our profession, this is our personal relationship. If my relation has to be damaged because we play against each other and one draw and the other one wins, or the amount of time that we have lost, then I wouldn't talk to him no more. So that's not a relationship, especially a relationship that I consider that both of us have. So a sport, it will never get in my way in a personal relationship, for sure.
And is it harder to do that when it is so fiery and when there are accusations from either side coming at each other?
Depends. If those accusations affect you, it's because maybe that is true. If they don't, and you know, and you show your integrity and you do what is you believe is right, it doesn't have to be. There are opinions, and if you don't like opinions, then you shouldn't be sitting in the position that I am. So I think it's quite simple. Don't take it personal. It's part of our job, and the things that you really care about, make sure you handle them in the right way. And that relationship I really care about, the same with a lot of people in that staff and players that I spend very important years of my life with them.
Does it make it a little bit harder that you were once that side and now you're totally the other side?
No, I think it makes it easier because I know them in very different situations, and when you get to know that person in the goods, in the bads, when things go their way, don't go their way, then you understand much better certain reactions. So for me, it's not a surprise, and I'm very comfortable with that.
Martin Odegaard wrote in the programme notes about how he's progressing. Spoke to Kai Havertz this morning, and he sort of talked about how a lot of the players have stepped up and are filling the voids that Martin has. I mean, he's still clearly around. He said that they're finding their voices a bit more. I wondered how impressed you've been with how your team have coped with his absence so far, and those sort of players that have stepped in that have maybe surprised you in terms of taking on the leadership.
Well, if you put me in the scenario before the start of the season, with the calendar that we were given, with the fixtures that we had, with the 3 away games that we had, and with the amount of injuries that we had to deal with and how we got out of that, I will be very, very pleased, I think. So it's not obviously just with Martin. Obviously, he's one of our best players, one of the players that have more impact in the team in many ways. But there were many others as well, and the team is coped extremely well because we have an exceptional group. A lot of players are taking a different role in their leadership, in their importance in the team, and they embrace that challenge, and I'm really happy for that.
You obviously had a kind of physically and probably quite mentally demanding 10 days. You look at what's ahead of you now, and I know there's PSG, but in the Premier League, home game, 3 home games, Leicester, a chance to kind of build a little bit of momentum and go back to playing with the ball maybe, less so than playing it out in front of your home fans.
As we play with the ball, no?
Yes.
Every game, I mean. So we will do the same.
Well, Kai was saying he didn't really play with the ball.
As good
when
as
he played on Sunday, he was saying to me he's quite looking forward to actually getting his groove back.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get a lot of momentum now.
Okay, George from BBC.
Mikel, hello. I just wondered, on Sunday, it's Friday now, all these days on, and so many people are still talking about your tactics. And I just wondered what you made of that.
About what?
About the tactics and the decision to defend in the way you did. And I just wondered how far we're 6 days on and people are still talking. I just wondered what you made of that.
That I did what I believe it was the right thing, to be as competitive as possible to win the game.
Roy Keane's had some strong comments to say, and Graham Souness in the fallout from that match. Roy Keane said it was a bit of small club mentality. Graham Souness said Arsenal had a bit of an inferiority complex. I just wondered if you'd want to respond to them.
No.
And just on David Raya, is it fair to say he's a doubt for tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Is that it, George? Yeah. Okay, we're to Brad from TalkSport.
Brilliant. Hi Mikel, hope you're well. considering what you said about David Wright, it could present an opportunity for someone like Neto tomorrow. I wondered what was it about him that made you decide that he was a player that you wanted to bring into the squad this summer?
Well, we had to react very quickly with the departure of Aaron, and we had him in our list for a few years already. He's played in various countries at the highest level in different roles, and he's always fulfilled it in the right way. And I believe he was the right player because, as well, he was in the Premier League. He had experience, and he's someone that we can throw there in any moment.
In years gone by, people have talked about Arsenal and said, like, defensive side of things has been the club's weakness. You fast forward a couple of years now, you have one of the best defences in the Premier League and world football. Apart from a lot of work in training, what's been the key to get this side to be so organised defensively?
It's the player's mentality, basically, how willing you are to do certain things when you are out of possession, and how do you feel about them, you know? If it's a sacrifice for the team, we are talking, I'm using the wrong words, you know? So if it's adding something special to the team and contributing to that and loving it while you are doing it, then it's something else. The outcome is very, very different. And obviously a lot of work from the coaches, from the players individually, and keep developing those relationships. And then it's about building trust as well within the team, within the squad, that in many phases, whether it's in high press, when we are deeper, on many of the situations that we have to face during games, that we are comfortable to do that.
Available?
No, we had a few bumps and bruises from the game against Everton. A couple of lads didn't quite make it for availability for the game on Tuesday. Everybody got through the Tuesday game okay. So the boys will be out a little while, including Yannick Vestergaard is still not available for the weekend. So we were as we were really. No change from the last Premier League game.
Well, if we could just touch on quickly on that game at Walsall. You spoke afterwards about the frustrations heard from some supporters during that game. And needing perhaps to earn some credit with them. We all want to feel loved. So does it affect you personally when you hear things like that?
Well, I think like as a manager, you're never too far away from challenging times, from criticism. You know, sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's unfair, and that's just the life that you have to live. And for me, I've always said if you don't like that, then don't take these jobs in the first place. So I accept that. I think, as I said, I'll just repeat what I said the other night. I will always try and understand fans' perspective and opinions, and my first initial reaction is not to be too defensive, is to see the rationale of why a feeling may be the way it is, and then in the end try and do something about it. So I'm no different to anybody else in terms of like I said, never being too far away from some questioning or criticism or challenging. And if it's at my door at this moment in time, then it's one I accept. But I also see it as, in these moments, as a good opportunity to show the real. So the real me in this case, to show how well I want to do here, how strong I am as a character, and obviously you want to show how good you are as a coach as well. So it's easy to be really visible and to talk a lot when things are going well. I think the real leaders and strong characters are the ones that face up to difficult times. And if this is one, then here I am, and looking forward to. To continuing to work hard and to get ready for these big games that we're playing in the Premier League, and trying to thrive on the challenge of it. So nothing's changed in terms of getting back from the game the other night and the preparation for Arsenal on the weekend. In terms of our work ethic and our application, I've said every time we've spoke, I say to the players every day, their attitude and application, the engagement's brilliant. We've just got to try and keep building, because that's what we're trying to do to get the results and performances that we want. But as I stand or sit here now, I've never been more determined since I took the job than what I am now to do well. And in the end, that's what you want to do. Supporters pay a lot of money. If any reaction you get from a supporter is authentic, is because that's how they feel about the football club, and you have to respect that. I'll never get too high from praise, and I'll never get too low from criticism. I'll only get motivated to try and improve. And when feelings are not as we want them, then I'll take personal responsibility in trying to change that.
I want to go back to Mikel Arteta and his comments there, just because I feel like all week he's been the subject of this dark arts chat. What did people really expect him to go and do at the Etihad Stadium against 11-man Man City when he had one of his players sent off? Do you think he did the right thing? Was that the right approach to go there ultra defensively?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Look, again, we're talking about Manchester City, who create a wealth of chances against the best of oppositions with 11 men. Arsenal are down to 10 men. Why would they not go on the defensive? Why would they not protect their lead? Why would they not frustrate Manchester City as much as they can and bring out this so-called dark arts? I think it's genius from Mikel Arteta. I genuinely do. If he goes and says, right, we're going to go attack versus attack, Manchester City are going to blow them out of the water and have a fun time doing it. It's probably going to end up 6-7, 8-1, 8-2, sorry. Arsenal are not silly. Mikel Arteta's not silly. He's looking at the bigger picture, long term. Look, if they get a point out of this game, which they did, it's a point closer to where they want to be come the end of the season. But that also says to me that Arsenal are at a different level now. Pep Guardiola understands that Mikel Arteta, he hasn't got his number, but he knows what it takes to be a Premier League champion because of the way he played that game. I don't blame him one bit.
Obviously up to the defenders to score the goals in that encounter. A defender as well, Gabriel, scored against Man City and he scored against Spurs. Arsenal and these corners that they seem to have worked out, they have this routine down pat right now, the danger at set pieces.
Yeah, they're absolutely a dangerous set pieces. And you have to applaud them for it. I mean, there's got to be at one point where it's such a narrow angle that they've got to set it perfectly. And you know that it was a copycat because they had one just before it, which they missed. But then the second one, every time you see Declan Rice go to the corner flag and you think to yourself, it's going to be another go, and they're just going to go for it. And it's amazing how many people can't defend set pieces really as well. One thing I do want to say with Arsenal is I do think that sometimes people expect entertainment over trophies, you know, and then when you do that and you do put that philosophy ahead of, you know, I'm always going to be attack-based, and then you don't win, then you're called naive. You're called as lacking that winning mentality. So I just kind of feel on this particular topic, I don't know how Mikel Arteta can win. I don't know how Arsenal can win, because people were criticising them last year when they weren't putting their foot on the gas and putting their foot on the neck of Manchester City by really going for it, showing that mentality. And when they do show that mentality, then they're the dark arts. How do you win?
Yeah, been accused for years, I think, of being soft, have Arsenal, and now it's the dark arts. Just 25 goals since the start of last year from set pieces. Critical now as well with their main creative force, Martin Odegaard, being injured.
But they were still able to create opportunities and chances. Now they're having to rely on Gabriel Saliba. Incidentally, another stat for you. I think since Gabriel signed for Arsenal, he's the top defensive goal scorer. So, you know, that just says to me that from set pieces, they're a threat. And that's it. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to always be through Saka or, on the other side, Odegaard or Sterling. Sometimes you can go a little bit more direct, go back to front, put crosses in the box and get the big players attacking it aggressively.
Or just give Riccardo Calafiori the ball and he can show you what he can do.
There you go.
I mean, he's a goal-scoring defender, right? And if you just let him go and have fun on the ball, he can show you. I mean, he already did it.
Yeah, unbelievable, that goal. What a way to announce yourself. Calafiori, obviously some talk about Kyle Walker not being given enough time here, but this is the build-up to that goal. First goal for him in Arsenal colours. What a game to do it in. What a way to score. Just sensational, Mina.
It was. And sorry.
Thanks, Mina.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, sorry, go for it.
But that is honestly, no, you go for it, because you can tell me exactly how that scored as a striker.
That's a really, really difficult technique he just showed there. Opening up his body, whipping the ball hard, high over the goalkeeper. Really, really difficult. Absolutely fantastic. But going back briefly, very, very briefly, to Kyle Walker being out of position, he had more than enough time to get himself in position. he was more interested and more intrigued into having conversations
Yeah.
with his defensive players rather than getting himself in position.
I just don't think anyone thought Calafiori was going to manage that rocket. Yes.
Yeah, unreal. I want to talk about goal scorers because Leicester go to the Emirates Stadium and Jamie Vardy loves a goal against Arsenal. We can roll back the years and see some of his goals that he scored against Arsenal, and he goes back to the Emirates Stadium now. A striker that was once, linked with Arsenal.
Yes, and she scored 11 goals in 16 Premier League appearances against them. So we know that when it comes to Arsenal, he's always going to have a shout. But right now, Leicester don't look like a team that can really put together a win against Arsenal with the way that's going, and Steve Cooper sort of fighting for the fans to love him. I think it's going to be difficult. You always have a chance when you have Vardy. You can tell us how brilliant he is as a striker, but in all honesty, I think Arsenal are just too strong for this side right now.
Do you want to ask your question to Jermaine?
I'm feeling very, very bullied at this moment. I was going to ask you this.
Instead of asking me the question, I will let you know that while I was playing for Leicester, Jamie Vardy came in to replace me. I'm not embarrassed by that fact because he's a legend of Leicester City. He scored umpteen goals. I absolutely love the guy. He's hilarious. He's great to be around, great fun to be around. And I wish him all the very best. It doesn't hurt me. I love football. So I want the best for my friends. He is a friend, so therefore, come on, JV. Same again, mate.
But what a nice
Are you going to be cheering on Leicester over Arsenal?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we will hear their predictions, but that comes at the end of the show. We have so much more to come on Team Talks.
Darren Lewis and Tim Sherwood are with us to look ahead on this weekend's action. To look ahead on this weekend's action, look back at this weekend's action. Let's get this on the right timeline for a start. I think we're a bit discombobulated. That was breathless stuff yesterday.
Yeah.
Look, I know you're emotionally involved in it.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those proper title challenge, end to end, thrilling, bit of needle, bit of aggression. It was good. It was just good. Is what it was.
Could you imagine how that would have ended up if we could have had 11 against 11?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because that's what it comes down to. Players getting booked for kicking the ball away. But it was a disappointment simply because of that. What he got sent off for in the end. And I would look at it from Trossard's point of view. We know that's happened just a couple of weeks ago. So in the current climate, you can't do that. And that's what I was probably frustrated at last night, being 2-1 up and then you're losing a man, knowing what City are capable of. How many games haven't they lost there for? 38? Yeah. I don't know what it is.
48.
It's 48. Yeah, see, I tried to dumb them down, but no, 10 more it was. But, in the end, I probably think I'm very happy with the result and very proud of how the boys handled that whole situation.
Yeah, they've gone to Manchester City and they've taken a point, and you would think that would be across the course of a season, that wouldn't be too bad a result. It's because of the late equaliser, obviously, but just a word on the game overall, Tim. It was just proper entertainment, wasn't it?
I loved it. I thought it was really good. I was intrigued to see how Arsenal would go and approach it, because I felt like they have to go and take 3 points. Because don't rely on any other team to take points off Man City, because it doesn't happen. If you want to win the Premier League, you're going to have to go to your biggest rival, which is Man City, and you're going to have to win. There was a lot of talk before the North London derby. If they lose to Tottenham, if they lose to Man City, the season's over. They very nearly won both games, so they're right in it. They're a different... I think they're made of different stuff now, Arsenal. They've got the best back four, back five, back six with Calafiori coming in there now. He's coming to the side. I think they're title chargers now. I really do. I don't think they're favourites. I think Man City's still are favourites. But the needle in the game was really encouraging for me. I really like that. It's a different spice to it. We've seen Liverpool and Man City. It's all about handshakes and cuddles and, who can outplay each other. This is a different needle. It's great. I love it. It's a throwback, and long may it continue.
It has an old school feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. You can think about all of the old bust-ups and battles between Manchester United and Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United as well. We're still talking about the spite afterwards. You've got the viral videos of Haaland throwing the ball at the head of Gabriel afterwards. All of the little videos of Haaland being a little bit naughty with his comments towards Arteta as well, and a couple of the younger players as well. Yeah. And so this is one of those ones. You always know a good bust-up and a good rivalry because everyone's talking about that rather than the football days later. But what I think Arsenal did yesterday was send out messages. They send out messages that they're a serious team now. no one's ever going to talk about their attitude going to the Etihad again, because they could and should have won the game and would have done if there were 11 players on the pitch. I think it would have been a very different game.
I think it would have gone the other way. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
What, they would have gone to City?
If they would have stayed with 11 men, I think they would have opened up and Man City would have broken down.
No, sure.
But I might be wrong.
But no, but just in terms of the messages, I think Gabriel and Saliba, they are establishing themselves as arguably the best centre-half pairing in the Premier League.
Although, as Roy Keane said on the UK coverage yesterday, they conceded 2 goals.
Yeah, they did. But I think in the context of yesterday's match, that would be true. Of what their presence and what they represent, their ability at set pieces and all of that. Because when Roy did say that, and I think it was Paul Burston who was sort of really gushing about them.
It was
Michael Richards. And when he said that, I did sit there and think, yeah, actually, you can't really sit anywhere and say they're the best player. But as a partnership, they're just so outstanding, and they were so unfortunate to leave now to lose. The flip side of that, of course, is that if you don't have the defensive discipline to last out the whole game, then you can make the opposite case for them not being as imperious as, say, Vidic and Ferdinand, or Carvalho and Terry, Gallas and Terry, so many of the top centre-half pairings who have been outstanding. But I just think about their ability at set pieces and the way that Gabriel rose to head that ball home. It was just outstanding.
You know what as well, Kels, when we talk about, like, Roy, because Roy will say something like that and it will vex me, because it has just vexed me. I'm probably going to say something, because when you look at how that first Man City goal came about, we know what Erling Haaland wants to do, how he wants to run in. The mistakes made before that is totally out of Gabriel and Saliba's hands, where they are and where they've got to go.
Look,
that's where the game's going to.
Isn't asking for a card supposed to be a football offence as well?
Yeah, exactly. But this is where the game's going, Kels.
It's a very specific action. You can't do this, otherwise. But you can do this.
So the warning, when Wright is talking about the warning there, it's not going to come now. The warning is Declan Rice against Brighton. That's the warning. That's what you should have. Mikel will be really upset. He was talking about after the game about it was only a second. It was only a second, only half a second. But them split seconds is what the game gets turned on. You know, decision-making, and when you lose your head, he kicked that ball away to kill time. He just kicked it away. He's out of frustration.
That's what should be taken into consideration, surely.
Yeah.
I think the intensity of the game, all that, Darren, for me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Losing that.
I think, yeah, because you can... Well, some of the best referees, the reason why some people think they're the best, because they turn around, they say to players, come on, I'm trying to help you here. Yeah. And they're very demonstrative about that. So when you're watching, you know what they're trying to do and say. They're trying to preserve the spectacle. Yes. Once that sending off happened, suddenly there was no spectacle. It was attack against defence for the remainder of the game.
It was an amazing fight from Arsenal.
Well, yeah, but are they fighting a bit too much? That's 17 red cards since Boxing Day 2019.
Yeah, but if we're going to go into that kind of stat, Kels, then we have to go back and look at how those red cards came about, because that red card for me, that's not a red card. Declan Rice.
But it doesn't matter which law they're breaking. If they've got more red cards than anyone else since then, does it mean that there is a discipline problem?
No. Do you know what I think about...
No, it doesn't.
I'll say no, because especially... No, Kels, only because of what people are getting sent off for now is something that the game has to try to adjust to. You will get sent off for that, Trossard. Declan, you'll get sent off for that. You know, but like, Doku, you could kick it there and then it could come back here, but you don't have to get... So where's the consistency?
But I'm less concerned about the red cards, only because the last time Arsenal had that many red cards, it was when Arsene Wenger's team were winning titles. They were a dirty team. Lots of people say that Arsenal have been, in the last, 15, 20 years, too easy to play against, too powder puff. They're not able to cope. Yeah, son-in-laws, exactly. And they were nice boys, and suddenly, looking at them yesterday, they're warriors, they're monsters, they're all over the pitch, they're physically imposing. They're, you look at the way they're blocking off keepers for their set pieces. And also, there was a long period of time where Arsenal, people would say about Arsene Wenger, he practices attacking but no defence. Where's the defensive steel? Where's the edge? Where's the sharp? Well, that's all there as part of this Arsenal side. And if there are red cards along the way, it means because they are not nice boys anymore, they're prepared to fight and dig in. And if they do get red cards as a result, maybe, but still they're at the top of the Premier League.
But them red cards, they don't matter until they matter.
Yeah,
and what I'm saying, they've had 2 red cards this year, and if we're led to believe that yesterday, if they would have stayed with 11, they would have got an extra 2 points. At Brighton, my belief, they would have won that game at home to Brighton if Declan Rice doesn't get sent off. That's 2 red cards, what could have cost them 4 points. And that 4 points is the difference between them winning the league and losing the league.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
only 2 points.
You still have to look at the week they've had as well.
But there's all. Just to go back to the point, I know you were sort of being funny when you were saying, it's not a problem with discipline because they're not necessarily vicious red cards.
Yeah.
But is that not almost more of an issue?
Petulance,
Because if actually if it's for a hard challenge or if it's for like stopping somebody going through on goal or something like that, then that's kind of worth the hit. But what Tim's saying is, if you're getting sent off for kicking the ball away because that's your second yellow, is that not a bit of a waste of a red card?
I can't get away from the fact the way the game is now and what you can get a red card for. And yes, you have to think to yourself, obviously, you're feeling that Trossard maybe saw what happened, so you have to kind of relax in the moment and say, right, I could get sent off for that, so I'll just come. But it's not that easy, especially in the game, the time of the game. Why can't referees understand that side of the game, where a player has to be in control because what could happen, the ramifications if he gets sent off, and then the referee treats you like a man and say, listen. Yeah. I know the game. How many times a referee put you and say, listen, I know there's a lot of people here. We know how much is on the game. You just need to calm down.
Yeah.
Where's that gone?
Before the game, Bryce.
Absolutely. Before the game and while it's happening.
I used to say in the tunnel to the referee, it's a very emotional game. Yeah. There will be tackles, both from us and both from them. Just keep your cards in your pocket. I used to give them that information when I played. Because I know I'm trying to make them, educate them that this is a high-pressured environment today. Bit different. And when it's a slippery surface. Yeah. It's a bit slippy today, might be some mistimed tackles, bear that in mind.
You know the thing as well, that what would happen as well, Kels, is if people can watch a referee controlling it and say, listen, I know he's wrong there, but I'm not going to book him for that, I'm going to give him a warning. People are used to that. That can still happen in the game. You can still, as a referee, control a game like that and say, any more. Because we're seeing games. I saw a game the other day.
Giving referees leeway leads to more inconsistency,
and so then you get pressure that gets.
Then you get players going, well, he did that earlier in the game, and you didn't book him for that, and yet you've booked me for the same thing. And
because we've set a precedent that we're doing everything to the letter of the law. It can't be like that.
But the reason that that's happening is so that referees if they apply the letter of the law, it means that they can't be accused of being inconsistent, which is everybody's biggest gripe about referees. It's the one we started off with when we talked about the second yellow for Trossard. And you went, well, what about Doku? What about when Szoboszlai got sent off? Didn't get, a yellow card for kicking the ball away with the same ref in a similar situation. You go, well, it's inconsistency that is the most frustrating thing. And the only way referees will say to fix that is to apply the letter of the law.
I'm sure the referees want to use some common sense, but they're not allowed to. Legislation doesn't allow them to. The mandate is you stick to the law to try and get the more consistency. What me and Wright is saying is wrong. But we would like to see it like that. But it's not.
When's the When do we move away from where like referee will book you and he'll go, they're there, over there. We had that, and then we kind of seem to have lost it overnight, haven't we? It's more a question than because
And that's as much for the crowd as anything else. That's great when you're inside the stadium and you can see it's a kind of communication. All I was saying was we can't criticise referees for inconsistency and then say, but we need to make the laws more flexible. You can't have both.
No, I don't think you can. No, but I think that you can use common sense and say, listen. It's nearly half-time. Now, you just need to... I know the emotions are running high. Any more of that, I'm going to have to send you off. You're already on a yellow. Bam, you understand that.
Arsenal at that stage were 2-1 up because, again, it was a set piece. And, again, it was a strong physical presence in the box.
And a fantastic ball. He played one earlier on where it's very strange to me because Pep talked about how good they were at set pieces. And on the first corner, he headed over the bar, Gabriel, Doku was marking him. I couldn't understand that. And on the second one, they've obviously said, right, Carl, you mark him. And the ball is so good. Once he's made his move, we saw Carl trying to stop him and that. He can't be stopped if the ball is good. And that is what we know we're capable of doing at City. Obviously, scoring the goal what Calafiori scored. We don't normally score goals from outside the box. I was only saying that the other day. But that was a brilliant goal, which we got back in the game because of the referee. Yeah. Right, we got back in the game, but that is what we're capable of, and that is what we've done. And I think, as much as people were saying, if it was 11 men, it would say, I still believe that Arsenal and the new Arsenal and the mentality of this, how deep they're willing to go, I think we beat them. I think we'd have beat them.
I actually...
And they were celebrating.
I know you
their draw.
disagreed.
And they were celebrating their draw.
Yeah, but this is going back to Rodri's comments from last season,
exactly.
isn't it? Yeah.
Rodri's saying it, but they were celebrating the draw because the emotions take over. They know that Arsenal are on their tails now. Arsenal are up for it physically and mentally and everything that comes in respect to the football. So they've got a proper,
they're celebrating a draw because they've played for a draw because City have been cautious.
And it's straight back to the Etihad for us. And I want to start by showing you the second half stats. I mean, it's incredibly one-sided, as you'd expect. Arsenal with that man less in that second half. But, Farah, if you saw stats like this, you would think that was a very one-sided 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 win for that team, wouldn't you?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, 88% possession, 392 complete passes to Arsenal's. You can see it there. 28 shots on goal to Arsenal's, 1 in the second half. I mean, I think the only thing you've got is 16 outside the box, and Arsenal didn't have any. But the thing that stands out the most is the 1.4 expected goals from 28 shots. That's low for the amount of shots they're taking.
Yeah. Arsenal, we're always going to struggle, but that's quite low for anybody.
That's an understatement of the year. I think the one shot is when Havertz went through and he actually was right on top of Ederson and kicked it against him. But the reason why that is so low is because all their shots were such a low XG because Arsenal encouraged them to have plenty of shots from outside the box.
But let's take a quick look at what changes had to be made in the second half. It was Ben White came on the field as right of 3 centre-backs, meaning a back five. It was Saka, the captain for the day, that was replaced. We didn't know whether that would mean, they would play a little bit narrower, try and leave one player up front, but we'll show you right from the very first clip that just meant that Arsenal set their stall out in that shape very, very quickly, Leroy.
And they certainly did. Look about it, they just left the ball. There was no press. Everybody gets back into the shape. The back five into their shape. And then there's a midfield four. Havertz came in on the right-hand side. There's a back five, all in the line. And then the midfield four in front of them. Martinelli went into the left side alongside Rice Party and Havertz, who did a great job going back.
Well, that's how they started the second half. But they got deeper and deeper and deeper. And at times it was, as we'll show you, it was 6 at the back and 3 in midfield. Then it was 7 at the back. I mean, I thought, you must see it there, look. Martinelli ended up getting deeper and deeper, and I still thought they were comfortable enough, Arsenal. Yes, they've got 3-man midfield, and I thought the midfielders worked incredibly hard, but I thought they were always sort of within the width of their own penalty area. I never really felt that City stretched them into these spaces out here very often. Never really asked them to come out of areas that they didn't want to be in.
Yeah, and I thought that was a perfect game plan from Arteta for this second half, because Arsenal know Manchester City like those balls, like to break lines and really thread and hurt centrally. And I think what Arsenal did was compact that central area, and you'll see you just highlighted the if you hold it there, look. This is probably the only one that's probably a little bit out. Sorry, we'll do it from here. Let me undo that. That was.
That's all right.
Undo that one. Okay, it doesn't want to.
Go on, do it now.
Go on. Go from here. And if you look at this here, how compact they are, and that's the areas that we know Manchester City like to slide the ball through. They're saying to Manchester City, take the wide areas, put crosses in. And the reason why they're saying that, because they have 2 centre-halves in Gabriel and Saliba that don't mind dealing with crosses from wide areas. And Manchester City wasn't prepared to do that.
Rodri just said, we just heard him, that when they're making these side-to-side passes, it's generally just to try and move people around so that they can then break the line, they can then slip a pass. Do you think that was Mikel Arteta's inside knowledge that was saying, do not leave this space, do not give up anything, easy passes that break the line. We can drop deep and we can come out to block shots, and but we do it from that kind of position.
You're absolutely right, Leon. And his inside knowledge was that when City get into these areas, because we were saying, no, they need width, but he wants his wide players to be in and around the edges of the 18-yard box. You see there, they allowed Diaz to have the shot, it goes over. But look at Doku, down here. I think it's Bernardo Silva in and around here. Pep actually wants them there. Back when we played, we want our wingers as wide as possible, get the ball, put it in the box. But he wants them to get the ball. So when they're dribbling, they're taking them in the box. And they get into the byline, and that produces... Eventually, they got the goal. But that's what Pep wants.
No, they don't mind Ruben Diaz shooting from that kind of distance. Arsenal seem to keep forcing Manchester City into where positions Arsenal wanted to go into. What did Manchester City have to do, Farah? What should have Manchester City done a little bit differently?
I just felt like they would recycled the ball way too many times. I know you were talking about the wide players and Pep likes them narrower. Could they have pulled out and maybe tried to... They started really wide in the first half. Maybe could they have, you know, stretched the fullbacks and brought them out and created gaps, but they certainly needed more movement. It's quite static along the back line. You see, if he pulls it here, Manchester City it's quite static, so Arsenal don't really have to think about anything. There's no little darted runs that, you know, in between. Maybe if we just make a run and try and drop them off without getting, you know, them unselfish runs we talk about. They just needed to be a little bit sharper in and around the box with off-ball movements, 2v1s as you're highlighting there, wide areas. We didn't see any of that. We left wide players to go 1v1 quite often in the game, and I felt like if you... Go on. You're completely right. Go on.
No, I was going to say, but you're absolutely right, Fire. But the one thing you notice is that every single Man City player is having 3, 4, 5 touches. And you know, when you were playing, when Leon was playing, as a coach, you say 1 or 2 touch, 1 or 2 touch. But Arsenal are getting in people's faces. There's number 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if you know somebody's taking 3 touches, you know you've got them where you want them.
I think the worst thing, isn't it, when you're a team that is having to be disciplined, not jump out. The worst thing is that when teams play quickly, it really makes you want to jump because you get a little bit impatient. The fact that City, as you just highlighted earlier, Roy, they were slow on the ball, weren't they? They slowed it down, which actually made it a little bit easier for Arsenal to stay in that shape.
What they did do well, Manchester City, is take quick set pieces. I mean, they never let Arsenal rest in that sense. When you're defending like Arsenal are having to do, when the ball goes out, it's that general moment where you go, brilliant, time to get a breather, time to fill your lungs, to reassess yourself and get going in. Man City didn't allow them that opportunity. It was relentless in their pursuit of that equaliser.
Exactly, and this is stressful. You know, this is stressful to defend your box against Man City for what, 55 minutes. It is, and you know, any team, you know, is going to have lapses in concentration. And when they did have a lapse of concentration, David Raya was absolutely excellent.
He'd have been very proud of his team, Mikel Arteta, because he kind of forced Manchester City to have their most shots they've ever had under Pep in the Premier League. 18 shots from outside the penalty area. That's not what Manchester City do when they're at their best.
No, and look at the stats. They only won three of those games. Oh, right, Leeds at 7-0. But look, and a lot of those games were up against, I think that was a late winner for Southampton, lost against Leeds, West Ham, a draw, Nottingham Forest, a draw. So when you get the City to take shots from distance, you might have a chance of getting something out of the game.
And the personnel that are taking the shots. You've got 3 centre-halves taking shots from distance. You're quite happy with that.
That was key.
Diaz
no Rodri
here,
on the pitch. No Kevin De Bruyne would have made a difference. But this was the equaliser. They did keep going, Manchester City. And as I spoke about, look at Arsenal players now. It's Havertz is on the floor. It's take a breath. It's let's organise. And suddenly, Grealish, Gundogan, look at Jorginho at the bottom. Look how he sees it. He sees that they've just left themselves open into that position. They nearly keep your flies across, nearly stop him. But John Stones, I mean, look at the reaction from those Manchester City players. That says a lot about how they feel about the importance of this game. Yeah,
it's only important just only in the context of this game, important in context of the Premier League title race. Because Arsenal go away from that. If they get the 3 points, their confidence is lifted to another level after Spurs and that as well. They still, look, delighted with the point, but Arsenal would have lifted them to another level.
It was a blow for Arsenal, considering how well they'd done. But that, I think, now is 47 games, or 47 Premier League games unbeaten at home. 48 now in all comps at home for Man City, so it was a big thing. But now we'll just see the shots. Look at Arsenal's shots compared to Manchester City's. The smaller the circles, the smaller the opportunities, and that's what they sort of limited themselves to, or Arsenal limited City to that anyway.
Yeah.
I like that about Arsenal. I think it showed a completely different side to what we're used to. We've seen a possession-based Arsenal that are exciting on the eye. They showed an ugly side to them in this and a resilient side where they can be together and make it difficult for the champions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll find out how big a result that will be come the end of the season, and that potential big blow of an injury to Rodri. Well, thank you very much to my guests. That's all we've got